Well, good morning. Here we are once again. It's Saturday. How did it get here so quickly? It seems like it was just Saturday a week ago. I'm not sure how the time flies, but here we are once again. Got a great show ahead of us here with our returning special guest and resident bibliophile, Ann Davis East, who's going to be sharing some book titles for the remainder of our summer. So just not just hang in there, grab your cup of coffee. Are you ready to go? I know for some of you that might be iced coffee today, but put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it is time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Good morning. Let's see if anybody's here to say good morning to yet. I know sometimes it takes us a few minutes to get rocking and rolling here. If you are tuning in this morning live with us on this Saturday, July 30th, can you believe it? We're coming up to the end of July. But if you are here this morning live, make sure that you say hello in the comments, stay involved in the chat, join the conversation today, but make sure you let us know that you are here. And if you are tuning in later and watching the recording of today's show, you can also make your comments in the chat. You can still follow along and join the conversation. We do go back and check the comments later on and make sure that we are with you all. And I'm checking to make sure that we are live on both platforms. And guess what? We were not. Yeah. So we're now coming up on Facebook. So I'm going to say it once again. I'm going to say good morning and welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I was wise enough. This has happened once before, but I had it set, or I thought I had it set to be on both our platforms. We were on Facebook and we're on YouTube. And as it turned, this happened a few months ago, and our director Carissa caught the fact that we were only running to YouTube. So anyway, we get those glitches that go on, but we are live at this point. And I will say once again, good morning. Welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve on this Saturday, July 30th, 2022. What's the weather like where you are at? If you are in one of the areas that's experiencing extreme, unusual, record-breaking heat right now, please make sure you're staying safe. Hopefully you're in a cool place, but also make sure that you are hydrating and doing all the things you need to. Good morning, Kathy Garlic. Hot. Yeah, it's hot. It's amazing how much of the country, and it was strange, or not strange, I guess, but it was interesting to watch that here a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of the east coast and parts of the south and southeast that were experiencing extreme heat, and then it seemed to drift kind of over and end up in the western half of the United States. Hi, Carla. And all of a sudden now you've got areas of the mountain states, you've got the western southwest. That's the word I was trying to think of. Hang on, this is obviously necessary. Yeah. And then places like Oregon and Washington, Portland, Seattle experiencing record-breaking heat and extremes. And I know some of you, Carla, you're up in Oregon. If anybody who's in Oregon, I saw something the other day, I wanted to confirm this, that Oregon took the unprecedented measure of allowing in several of the number of the counties self-service pumping gas, which has never been the case in Oregon. I don't know if there's ever been an exception to the law that you can't pump your own gas. That's the first I've ever seen of it. So if you're in Oregon and can confirm that for me, let me know. Who else popped in here? Shalane, good morning. Took Facebook a bit to find you. We started the broadcast and I have everything set up to go to both Facebook and YouTube. And I thought everything was set properly. And when we started and I didn't see anybody signing in here and joining the conversation, I glanced and it turned out Facebook wasn't live. So my apologies for that. If you were sitting on Facebook waiting and this first 2 or 3 minutes went by with nothing, that's on me. But you're here. Thanks for being here. And yes, let's see. Amy Sterling, good morning, Amy. I think it's been a little while since I've seen you on here. If you have been, I just missed you. So good to see you, Rick. Good morning. Who else am I seeing here? Lila Swafford, yes. And yeah, Amy saying had to pump my own gas. I forgot to put the yeah, it's the cap back on. By the way, I've spent much of the last 15 or 16 years, California or Washington. Have also spent enough time in Utah and other places that I've gotten very accustomed to pumping my own gas. There've been 2 or 3 times I started to drive off. Now, thank goodness I have never driven off with the hose still in. I saw somebody do that a few weeks ago. It was actually at a gas station where somebody forgot to take the hose out and started to drive off. And broke the hose. You know, they're designed to come apart, but that can be very expensive for the person who does that, because it's not like they just go, that's okay, you know, we'll bill you for it. Like, they don't want you to leave the station until you pay cash. Then there is a fine for doing that. But anyway, yes. Do people in Oregon understand how to pump gas? You know, I think it depends, Kathy. I think a lot of people, I saw some of the posts I saw were from people who had never done it before and were really struggling with it. I think a lot of people, if they've lived in other states or have visited other states, they at least know how to do it. But it's not necessarily as intuitive a thing as it is for those of us who live in states where that's just the norm. So yeah, I can see that. But what are the temperatures been like where you are at, whether you are in the West or you're someplace else? I don't know if anybody on here right now is further east than the Utah area, but wherever you're at, once you identify what state you're in, you can even identify the city or region of the state and what the weather has been like. What are the temperatures been like? What's the forecast for the rest of this weekend and into next week? I know here in Spokane, we have finally hit the 100-degree and just over 100-degree point within the last 3 days. And yesterday, I think it was 102 officially. And I think at our house, that was about what it was as well. It's supposed to stay around there, like 101, 102 today, maybe 103 tomorrow. And then my understanding is, if the weather forecasts are accurate, we're going to start to see some relief over the next few days. It's going to come down into the 90s and even be down in the 80s by the next week or so, I believe. But where are you at, and what's it like? Yeah, Chelan mentioning in Yakima, 108 for a few days. I remember seeing Yakima is about 3.5 hours from us. It's not that far away. And yet it's interesting how just that little change in the climate zone can create several degrees difference. I know that some of you in California have been experiencing some hot weather, hundreds this week in Salem, Oregon, Amy says. Yes, we hit 90 this week, Rick says, but mostly since we're near the coast, 8 to 10 degrees cooler than the valley. My experience, though, in Oregon has been that if you are at the coast and it gets up that hot, it's just oppressive. I think the humidity being that close to the water, that close to the ocean, added to the temperature can make it very uncomfortable. So hopefully everybody's staying cool, safe, hydrated. Just talking to our guest, Ann Davis East, who will be joining us in a few minutes, about the weather where she's at in California, and we were just sharing the fact that, when it's this hot, you don't go out in the middle of the day. You take care of what you need to outside, if you need to go outside at all, first thing in the morning, and then maybe go back out after the sun sets. But it hasn't been cooling down that much, at least here. It is right at the moment, according to my weather app, about 81 degrees in Spokane, in our area of Spokane. So staying very, very warm. Yeah, that's Kathy Garlic saying, my AccuWeather says it's currently 83, but feels like 92, which means that combination of the humidity and the air temperature, et cetera. So that's not necessarily unusual. Okay, well, we can continue. Feel free to continue to share about your weather woes and other things that may be going on. And just how's everybody doing in general? Do you have I actually did something the other day when it was hot. I was out running some errands in the middle of the day. So thank goodness for car air conditioning as well. Trying to remember back in those days growing up, when we lived in a house that did not have air conditioning in the summer. It didn't have air conditioning ever, but I mean, in the summer, and you don't have air conditioning, and then getting in a car where air conditioning meant rolling down all the windows and driving fast enough to where there was at least airflow. But I don't know that I could reacclimate to that. I'm spoiled now. The house has to have air conditioning. The car has to have air conditioning. You almost feel like if you're, I mean, you go into a store, you're expecting air conditioning. You're going into any place of business, and we're just, at least I'm not acclimated to the idea on hot days in summer to not have that, right? So we've gotten very, very used to it. But I went out the other day to run some errands, and I stopped at our local coffee shop bakery, Rocket Bakery, which some of you are familiar with. We broadcast from there a few weeks ago. And I almost always get my drinks hot. Very rarely when I go in, no matter what the weather, that's just I mean, I've got hot coffee this morning, right? Which I'm here, so hate to waste a picking up of the coffee mug. I got an iced drink. I got an iced version of my typical hot drink that I get when I'm in a coffee shop. I almost always get a peppermint white chocolate mocha. That's my go-to drink for a hot drink. When I was going to say mixed drink, I don't know, you'd call it a mixed drink. That has a different connotation. But when I go into a coffee shop, that's typically what I'm going to order is a peppermint white chocolate mocha. And I got it iced the other day. It tasted so good. It felt so good. I've got to remember to do that more often when it's hot weather. But I see. Yeah. Just everybody's continuing to share. Very good. Thank you. But anyway, let's talk about some special days that are this week. And once again, if you are joining us, first of all, if you had a little glitch at the start, that was our glitch. We started rolling live, but we were only going to YouTube preliminarily, and when we realized that Facebook wasn't running, we went live on Facebook. So hopefully that didn't mess you up too much. Hopefully you are finding us this morning. And welcome to Coffee Breaks. Make sure that you are saying hi. Make sure that you are joining in the conversation. Special days this week. Today, Saturday, July 30th, is Father-in-Law Day. I mention that because I have a son and two daughters-in-law. No, I have two sons and one daughter-in-law. And I just think it would be important for them to be aware of and recognize that today's Father-in-Law Day. Whatever you want to do with that, just know that. It's also National Cheesecake Day today. So if you are a cheesecake fan, this would be a good day. I don't know if places like the Cheesecake Factory do any specials on Cheesecake Day. It's kind of like some of the places that serve ice cream on certain ice cream days, or certain other things will do freebies or do some kind of a discount or something special. I don't know. If anybody knows, I didn't look it up, but it wants to check real quick. Does the Cheesecake Factory do anything special on National Cheesecake Day? And also, is National Cheesecake Day, again, you come back to that thing that if it says national, technically it's supposed to be because Congress passed a bill or the president made a declaration of something national. Are they just calling it National Cheesecake Day? Is this being sponsored by the Cheesecake Makers of America or even the Cheesecake Factory itself? Let me know if you see anything about specials on this. I'm not going out to get any. I'm just curious. And then this is very relevant. I had to include this because it's relevant to our topic today. Today is also Paperback Book Day. And I know many people now are moving away from physical books, paper books, whether it's hardbound or paperback, and doing more of the stuff that's just online. You can pull up books on your phone. You can pull them up on your computer. You can get special devices, the Nooks and other devices that are designed primarily for reading. And I'm curious about how many of you still like to pick up the physical paper book, whether hardbound or paperback. And, the paperbacks have traditionally been less expensive, sometimes easier to carry around. You can tell those paperback books that have been favorites because they get a little bit dog-eared and bent a little bit, but they're still a favorite, and pull them back off the shelf or off the rack and read that paperback book. So that's today. And then tomorrow, Sunday, the 31st, is National Avocado Day. Anybody here an avocado fan? I love avocados. It has to be just the right ripe. Now, some people like to wait until they're starting to get really mushy. It's kind of like with bananas, that you got different people like their avocados at different stages of development. But there is sort of a perfect point where it's got just enough of a give to it that it's not like cutting into an apple if you dig into that avocado. But that's also, I think, when the flavors come out the best. Depends on where it was grown and how it was grown in terms of the robustness of that avocado. Is there a robustness of avocado flavor? Anyway, I like a good ripe, just ripe avocado. And sometimes they get a little bit more ripe. That's the right time to make guacamole or do other things with them people like to do, or mix them in with other ingredients. What is your, oh, look, Kim Baker's here. Good meowing. Yes, good afternoon and happy Catterday. That's she's out herding cats. That's okay. We kind of had some glitches and got started late, Kim. Just glad you're here. Scott is here. I'm just looking to see who has joined since the last time I glanced at my screen. But anyway, tomorrow is National Avocado Day. I don't need a national day for avocados. I just need a good avocado. Monday, the 1st, is National Raspberry Cream Pie Day. I'm always interested in these ones that are very, 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 very specific. Not just National Raspberry Pie Day, not just National Cream Pie Day, National Raspberry Cream Pie Day. I don't know that I've ever actually had a raspberry cream pie. I've had like chocolate cream, banana cream, coconut cream, and others. Trying to think if I've ever had Raspberry Cream Pie Day. If you have, or if you make a raspberry cream pie, let me know about that, what you think of it, and what makes it so special that it has to have its own national day. Tuesday, the 2nd, is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. Man, that sounds good right now. With the weather we're having, yeah, I can see having an ice cream sandwich day. And I could see having an ice cream sandwich. I'm not opposed to that. Similarly, summer weather, August 3rd. This one came up. It was weird because this one came up in the platform, or the app that I use to go out and check special days. This one came up on 2 different days this week, and I had to go out and check independently to see which one it actually is. But the 3rd, Wednesday, is National Watermelon Day. Also like a good watermelon. Again, just that right point of ripeness and freshness to where you really not just get the water part, but the melon part has that juicy, sweet taste. Remember growing up, now they breed, grow, farm, process. The watermelons that are seedless, that's become much more common now, at least from what I see, to where you get the watermelons that you're not digging seeds out of. Growing up, watermelons just have those seeds, those black seeds that you would either be digging around when you got your watermelon, or you'd be spitting them out. Do you remember? You'd take a bite and then you'd spit out the seeds. Question for you, taking an informal poll. Do you miss the seeded watermelon, or still look for the seeded watermelon because that's au naturel, it's the way it's supposed to be, and you like spitting out those seeds? Or do you appreciate the fact that you now don't have to work around the seeds? Let me know. Thursday, National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. Again, why do we need a special day? Don't know. And then also this week on Monday, the 1st, happy birthday to Carla Venturi. Carla, my sister Carla, you're celebrating a birthday this week. So happy birthday to you. I didn't have any other special days that I came up on my personal calendar. So if I'm missing something and you're having a special day this week of any kind, let us know what that is in the chat so we may celebrate with you. And beyond that, listen, I've already taken a lot of time just talking. I don't want to waste our time here together. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk to our special guest. So I think you know her. She's been with us multiple times in the past and is a favorite to bring back. And so I'm thrilled to reintroduce and bring online here with me Ann Davis East. So hi, Ann, how are you?
Good morning.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to have you here. I know we were talking earlier about how we're both doing the best that we can to try to stay out of sweltering heat. You look like you're staying comfortable.
Yes, and I actually, while you were talking, checked our weather, and it's 72 right now,
Oh,
and
wow.
our high is going to be 95. So I'm excited not to have 100 plus
Oh my
today.
gosh. Yeah, I can. Isn't it funny though how all of a sudden 95 just seems comfortable after you've been experiencing those 100 plus days. So,
Yes.
yeah. Well, listen, I want to get to you had like three titles that you shared with me prior to this, and I have some slides we can talk about each one of these as you present them or as you talk about them. We can show the a little bit about the book and the author. So, do you just want to get going and tell us a little bit about your reading recommendations for the remainder of our summer season?
Sure. So I chose three books that are actually sitting on my bedstand right now. So I had to finish a couple of books. I'm on a National Book Award committee, so I had seven books to read and make
Wow.
recommendations this week. So I kind of switched my place. So we're going to do the first one is called Lessons in Chemistry. And Steve has the book cover and the author. It's by Bonnie Garmis. And it, it, it looks like it's going to be a really fun book. Um, the main character, Elizabeth, is a scientist during the 1960s. And, as women know, back when you were a scientist back there, you were kind of not even second, maybe third citizen. So she had to beg. Well, then she
Wow.
ended up losing her job, and she was fired because she became pregnant and stuff. So she is asked to um, host a cooking show on TV. And she
Hmm.
decides not to just cook, but to teach housewives not just to make the dinner, but how to change their lives. So it's going to be fun. As we all know, cooking is a science, so it'll
Mhm.
be good. And I see, Kathy, you asked what constitutes summer reading. Um, that to me, summer reading is where I get to read all my fun books that don't necessarily learn something from, and it takes me maybe 1 or 2 days to read. Um,
Okay.
so that's it. So our second book is called the Cartographers, which is a word that I was unfamiliar with, but it has to do with collecting maps. And this is the story of a young girl who lost everything over a fight with family members over a cheap gas station map. Now, some of us don't remember maps, paper maps, because
Yeah.
we now have um, the lovely lady that calls out directions and all of that. But you used to be able to get maps at a gas station or AAA, and then you had to learn how to refill them. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, her
Yeah.
father dies, and she discovers that that map actually was really important, and it puts her off onto a scavenger hunt that leads her to all sorts of secrets that her family had.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's another one that is kind of fun, and is I'm looking forward to reading and finding out more about cartographers um, in this whole map thing. So that kind of sparked my interest.
Like that.
And then the third one is called Portrait of a Thief. And you'll notice a nice theme here today is all
Mhm.
three books are written by women.
I was going to mention that. Yeah,
Yes.
female authors.
So it's nice to read books by women that have substance and are not just the romance novels. But this one is kind of like an Ocean's 11 heist.
Hmm.
So it's an MIT student who recruits four other accomplices, and they are asked to break into art museums in 5 countries to steal back artifacts that were wrongly taken from China. And they have a $50 million payout. So they're going through everything and getting it in. So it's going to be just a really fun book.
That's
And
that's cool.
yeah, and I want to mention that with the book Cartographers, other books that you can read that are similar is the Book of M and the 10,000 Doors of January, which I have not read,
Okay.
but they are similar. And for the Portrait of Thieves, similar books is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and The Cellist. And we did talk at one time about The Cellist.
Right.
So so if you're looking for other books that are kind of similar, have the same theme, you may want to pick those up as well.
That's cool. And what we're going to do, as we typically do when Anne is with us, is you will be able to see all of these titles, the 3 that she's talked about, and we'll put the other titles that she's given as similar styles of books. Those will all be available on the Coffee Breaks with Steve website and in the roundtable after we finish the show. So if you want to look for those books, and all of these are available on places like Amazon.com, through Barnes and Noble, any of the bookseller sites, you can find these. One of the things I like to do, Anne, and I don't know if this is just me, but one of the things that I like to do when I'm looking for or looking at a book, and it was interesting with these, I won't go into detail with these authors, but you can typically find, on places like Amazon, there'll be an about the author point. And I find it always interesting to look at who the author is and maybe get some idea what has inspired them. Why did they write this book, or why do they write the types of books that they do? And you do often find that there is a background that corresponds to areas within the plot line. You see that with a lot of authors, Michael Crichton is that way, and others who write a certain genre or certain themes to their books, and you find out, well, there's a natural reason for that in terms of their education, in terms of their own interests and that type of thing. Are you led to books more by the I know you, like you said, being part of a book club, sometimes you just get, hey, here's the next book that we're going to read. But do you find personally, Anne, that you're more drawn to titles and themes of books, or do you find that there's certain authors that you key in on?
I read all sorts. I don't particularly always read from one author. I do have series books that I like to read. There's a good mystery series that I like, and it's by Davidson Mott is her last name, and she writes about a caterer that solves mysteries. What I like is that the back of the book has all the recipes.
All the recipes.
And so those are kind of, I spent one whole summer on Martha's Vineyard reading every single one of those books and cooking a couple of the recipes. I generally go by what the story is. I'll pull a book off the shelf. I tend to read the flaps. Then I read the first couple of pages. of the first chapter. I will read a couple pages in the middle, and I won't read the end of the book, but I'll read towards the end. And if it's still, I'm still interested, but in that third section, then I'll take the book. I wanted to say, and I'm so sorry, I'm short on time
No,
today.
go ahead. Go ahead. We
But
started a little bit late.
Then if you go to the library and the library does not have the book that you're looking for, they love to have recommendations of books to
Yes.
purchase. So if you can't find it, ask them to look into it, to read it, or maybe purchase it yourself and make a donation to the
Oh, yeah.
library.
And I'm glad you mentioned libraries, and because I think that is similar to how we were talking before about how people have gotten more accustomed to, downloading books electronically. I think some of us forget or just underutilize our local libraries, and most of us have a library that's within an easy, if not walking distance, especially with the weather we're having, bicycling or driving distance from where we live. And to continue to patronize and utilize those libraries is really helping us to continue to support and build our community.
Yeah, and it's great. And Charlene, just go to your library and say that you are really interested in helping them choose the top books that for the library, and do an award or something. Libraries are constantly looking for volunteers and people to do things. And yes, you can get your book, get online cards,
Yeah.
and you can do digital and those type of things. And some libraries will have delivery
That's right.
or pickup, COVID-free pickup.
Right. It's
Yeah.
that all of that has created a need for more convenience. Listen, Ann, I do hate to rush. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here. And it won't, we're gonna have you back pretty soon. So start thinking about what you want to bring to us next time.
I think what I'm going to be doing it just kind of popped into my head. I am part of what's called Organized You, which is working with people on how to get organized,
Ah,
and been doing a lot of reading. So I think if we may do Atomic Habits, the 12-week year, kind of those type of books
that
to,
would be fun. I
since
think
we're
that would be
getting
a lot of fun.
since we're getting into September and we all have children, grandchildren, and we always use September as kind of getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah,
So
that would be fun. Well, I think that also says we don't want to wait until the holidays to have you back. So let's be thinking about how we can make that happen relatively soon, as we are getting into that, kind of getting the gears going again for the fall and the start of the school year. And kind of, you're right, we kind of revamp and get rolling again. So Ann Davis East, thank you so much for being here once again. We will be putting those titles and recommendations on our pages, but you are always a blessing. It's always wonderful to have you here. Stay cool and take care of yourself, and we'll see you again soon.
thanks. You guys take care and stay cool as well.
All right.
Bye.
Always a lot of fun to have Ann here. Hey, listen, I know we are running a few minutes over, but I want to share a few things with you before we wrap up today, just to let you know what's coming up and what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be on the road this next week. And it's actually relevant to the topic that we're going to be talking about next week. Our theme for next week, our topic for next week is class reunions. I'm actually going to be traveling to the Portland area the end of this next week. It's going to be kind of a whirlwind week because we've got family coming to our house. We're going to be passing through on their way to a wedding out of state, and then coming back. And in between that, over the weekend, I'm going to be driving into Portland to attend my high school reunion. I'll talk more about that and the unusual aspects of how the high school I went to constructs and carries out their class reunions, because it's not for one class. It's all the years that the high school was in existence. We'll get into that next week, but I'll be doing that remotely. from Oregon. So watch for that. And hopefully you will join in with your own ideas about your class reunions, your own experiences, your own thoughts about attending class reunions, because not everybody actually likes to do that. Some people avoid the class reunions for any number of reasons. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of class reunions next week. And the other thing that we're going to have coming up in a couple of weeks, we've got a topic called inflation frustration. We all know that we're going through a time where prices have been going up, the cost of doing things have been going up, and they're even talking about we're very possibly going to be officially in a recession within the next few months. There's economic principles and guidelines as to what constitutes a recession, but we're not going to get into all of the technical details very much in a couple of weeks, and we're not going to be using it as a gripe session. I'm sure several of us will have things that we want to talk about in terms of our actual frustration with inflation and with the prices going up. What we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks are some of the tools, some of the hacks, some of the apps, and some of the things that I've been doing some research that I will share. But I also want to hear from you about some of the things that you do to try to cut costs and save money and be a good steward of what you have during inflationary times, and how that carries over to times when maybe we're not dealing with the kind of economic challenges that we have been and are dealing with right now. But how does that affect on just a typical day-to-day basis? So I want to hear from you on all of that. And also just if I haven't already mentioned it today, share some of your favorite summer, whether it's summer reading. I loved the definition that Anne gave. It's the fun books that you can get through pretty quickly and that type of thing. But what are your favorite summer reading options? Who are your authors? What are your titles? Do you have some that you go back and repeat? Do you have some new ones that you pulled out and started reading this summer? Some that are still sitting on your nightstand or on your coffee table that you're going to read before the summer ends? How do you approach summer reading? So you can continue to put those in the chat here. You can also, once we post on the Coffee Breaks with Steve Facebook page and Roundtable, I'll be asking about that on the Roundtable. If you're not already keyed into the Roundtable, make sure you look for that. It's our conversation point. It's where we follow up on a lot of these topics and continue the conversations. If you have ideas for topics, if you have ideas for guests that you would like to see on Coffee Breaks with Steve, let me know what those are. I always love to get ideas, and I've had several people share some even recently. A lot of what we end up bringing into Coffee Breaks with Steve comes from you, because I have limited brain power. If you hadn't already figured that out, even when I'm drinking a lot of this, it's limited. Again, didn't want to waste picking up the mug, but I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your ideas are, so please do that. Don't forget to do the things you need to do this week. That sounded weird. Let me rephrase that. Be a good steward of yourself this week. Take care of yourself, regardless of what kinds of weather and climate issues you're dealing with where you are. Make sure that you are balancing what you need for yourself as well as looking out for others. You've got pets, make sure that you're aware of what their needs are when the weather extremes are in place. If you have neighbors, or you know someone who maybe is dealing with, whether it's dealing with disability or an older friend or neighbor, reach out to them, check in with the people that you know who may not have access to some of the things that we need during these weather extremes, and make sure that people are well. But just remember, in all the things that you are doing, that you're aware of the world around you. And I would just remind you once again, find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for bearing with us as we ran a little bit over, and we'll see you soon. See you next time.